Imagine, if you will, that you're standing in a garden and this hand comes out of the sky with a single coin in it, and it offers it to you. And as you go to accept this coin into your own hand, it's as if this pathway opens up in front of you and you're looking through this trellis type of gateway upon a mountain that is something that you're called toward. The challenge is somewhere that we are spending our time in our mind, and it's important for us to look over our day-to-day activities and where we're spending our time in the mind and what is calling to our attention. And if we can really, look at that a little closer and assimilate and filter out and between the coarse and the fine and what our true values are. So the challenge is how we examine the parts and how we look at things. Now, the way that we get through it, interestingly enough, as we're looking upon that sense of valuation, appears a single sword. And this single sword brings in a lot of clarity by way of some kind of conversation or communication or even an inspirational idea. We have a conjunction right now between the Sun and Uranus up in Taurus, which can lend a quality to that inspirational idea in that earth sign of Taurus, because so far we've had a couple of pentacles on the table today. Now, the ultimate outcome showed up as an energy of putting our attention towards something in a place of deliberateness, but taking, deliberate, purposeful steps toward that thing, and having the reflection of what we've gone through emotionally be part of what guides us along that path. We have the Knight of Cups, and if you've ever had to cross some kind of body of water, which of course in the tarot, the cups are our emotional center and our emotional being and also our relationships. But, if you consider the element of water and how it flows, all over the world, and how in a lot of ways it shapes the terrain that we have to transverse, and that is part of our journey after all. Sometimes those rivers, they can be like meandering streams, and sometimes they can be really intense, rivers that wash away bridges, much like what's happening just down the road from where I live right now. The waters can be so intense, so we have to be really deliberate with where we put our energy and where we place our steps, hence this Knight of Cups energy. Now, it was clarified by the Eight of Swords, which is this quality of timing. And it's telling us that it's important to not waste our energy on things that are outside of our control. Consider that Mercury is still retrograde for another few days, just short of around a week. And so there is this timing and this kind of energetic of slow, purposeful movement that we're being asked to consider, that, there's some place in our lives that we feel, a little stuck or limited, but that too shall pass. And then, a couple of more cards came out. We have the Moon card, which is the first major arcana that showed up today. And right now, the moon is in an interesting place, because the moon just went through that big eclipse energy when it was full. And now it's at a time where it's waning. And so it's going from that really big, full phase to getting smaller towards going toward a dark moon. And it will be in a new moon, around middle of May. And during that same time, there's a few different aspects that are coming up. By way of, the alignments between the Sun and Uranus and Mercury moving forward. So we're going to have a big energy shift in that way. We're also going to have Jupiter moving into Taurus. So that is also going to be bringing in another quality and character into the room, so to speak. But this quality of the moon, it showed up to me today as something that was really interesting in reflection to the opening card, because in the opening card, we had this kind of journey present itself to us as this offering. And then we have that journey also presenting itself to us again by way of the moon, and we can see that there's this light up above the ridge of the mountain here under the light of the moon. And in a lot of ways, this card is asking us and telling us that we have to get back on our path, and that we've been kind of led astray by where we've put our attention. And so, it's calling us to listen to our instincts and our intuitive sense around this timing that we have right now, because we literally over the next year have this rebuilding phase that's being presented to us. And so the moon is reminding us that if you feel at all as if something's been distracting you from getting on your path, or there's something that even like a quality of your own day-to-day activities, right? Because we had the Page of Pentacles show up as our challenge today. It's telling us that we need to level up and consider right now that we have the moon in Capricorn and it is approaching Aquarius. Now, Pluto is at 0 degrees of Aquarius in retrograde, which means that, right when the moon passes into Aquarius, it's going to be passing over Pluto. And right at that time, there's also going to be some, a close aspect to an opposition with Mars, which is like, this energy of really like the warrior within that's calling us to task and moving into the next phase of our sense of self. But it's really heart-centered because Mars is moving into the sign of Leo. Now, we also are going to have, and right now, we have this kind of grand cross happening in the fixed signs of Aquarius. And then when the moon moves into it, it will be there too. Mars will be in Leo, and then the North and South Node, of course, are in Scorpio and Taurus. So I always look at this as like the universe's way of like helping us take off our flat tires and calling us to task. Because even though grand crosses in the fixed signs are challenging, especially as someone with, 7 planets in fixed signs, 5 of them in Scorpio. And then if you count Chiron, it would be 8 bodies in fixed signs. I like stability, and everything in my life right now is causing me to really shift things that have been standing in my way so that I can move toward that which I've been called toward. Now, another card that showed up as clarification is the 10 of Cups, which is in a lot of ways reminding us that if we get back on our path, we have a lot of potential to reach our happiness that we are trying to attain. And then that was clarified by this Cosmos card, which is also known as the World in a traditional Rider-Waite deck. And this card is associated with Saturn. So Saturn just moved into Pisces, but it's at about 5 degrees of Pisces right now. And it is in sextile relationship with the North Node, which is going to be pinged by Mercury when it goes direct again here in a few days, right along with the energy of Jupiter. So there is, in a lot of ways, something that is calling us to a sense of completion around something that we've allowed us to continue to lead us off of our path. And it could be, around some kind of sense of valuation, considering, it's all up in Taurus that we're seeing all of these anchoring energies. But ultimately, what area of life that is going to show up for you depends on the time that you were born. So mainly like your rising sign. So even though you may have like your sun in Pisces or you may have your sun in Virgo, you still have a place of your chart that has Taurus in it. And each of the houses represent a different area of your life. So wherever Taurus is, it's going to be, it has all of these characters or energies in it right now. And depending on the placements that you have in your own natal chart by way of planetary placements, that could be more or less intense for you. And it's mostly dependent on the time that you were born, and of course where the planets were when you were born as well. So I hope that this was useful. If you'd like some more information on where Saturn is in regard to your rising sign and what that necessarily means for you, let me know, because Saturn is going to be in the sign of Pisces for the next 2.5 years. And so in many ways it is, you know, telling us to bring some kind of responsibility and to filter through things a little bit more in this area of our lives. It's asking us to be more responsible, more practical, more accountable, and to really pull our energies in so that we can put our energies toward that which we are rebuilding over in Taurus. So, you know, it's asking us to go into alignment. So whatever it is that you've been kind of fixating in your mind, consider how much time you've literally been spending there, and if it's been giving you any kind of reward for spending your time there, or if perhaps there's somewhere else in life that's calling to your attention to spend your time there, and that might actually bring you to a greater reward in life. Because after all, this is a really powerful year, and we are going to have a lot of opportunity within it, despite all of the changes that are happening. So I send a good wish to you. I wish you well, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.